Time for another silver update, and it's also time to dismiss some of the petty rumors out there. And I'm going to give you the straight scoop. Common sense methods that the supposed New World Order and the 1% and well, I call them the 1 basis point, 100th of 1% on the top are looking to pillage and plunder the middle class for their own benefit. It's not done in a way that a lot of people suspect, and I do want to warn again about some of the tirades and rants of Alex Jones. I don't really wish to pay attention to him much, and it's like casual. I look at certain things he says, but what really is going to bring down the middle class is petty tyrants, and the problem is with the middle class is they're sheep. They put up with this bullcrap. In other words, you might have some Poindexter type person, it could be male or female. And I've noticed actually a lot of times females seem to fit this role better because very good accuracy with doing the job correct as per what it's laid out, but maybe not questioning as much what the real purpose is. But there's a bunch of dork males that are like that too. But those type of people are the ones that are going to hammer the middle class. It's not going to be black helicopters. It's not going to be tanks. It's too costly to drive a tank to your house to say, go pay me a bureaucratic fee or some bullshit. There's no profit in that. It's going to be over petty laws, over petty compliance things. And the problem with the middle class is they've allowed this to happen piecemeal. Very few people have the balls to stand up to it. And the people that do have the balls to stand up to it usually are ostracized and criticized by the middle class who follows all the rules, which is stupid in my opinion, because it is stupid. It's stupid in reality because a lot of times people don't want to think hard. There's always a reason for a rule. There's always a reason. But people don't want to think outside the box. Now, I know this is a silver update, but I know a lot of people with silver, they're very independent minded and they're concerned about what's going to happen in the world and what's going to happen in the financial system and that type of stuff. But the other area, as independent minded people as silver people are, if you're independent minded, you're basically bucking the 1% or the 1 basis point on the top. Now, the way they're really going to put the clamps down on you, basically, the way they used to do it was through witch hunts and religion. Like they used to have it in medieval times. They used to have the church was going after all these people through witch hunts. And I know the Iranians got the Iranian clerics out there, right? But today in America, as we're moving away from a religion, what they got is psychiatry and psychology. And psychiatry is actually the more dangerous of the two forces because one uses and induces drugs. Now, a lot of people actually being the fact that they are of the mindset they want to be taken care of. And I've also noticed this also sometimes more so with women. There's like a mindset, not all, but there's the victim mentality. And of people I talked to that were on these meds and had bipolar disorder and they had this and that and there was this slightly schizophrenic, and I agree with they probably were, but it's usually a person that seeks attention, and it feeds the system, and somebody pays for these fat salaries of these psychiatrists to give them meds so they can be a victim. But it's also going to be used against political dissent. It's also going to be used against political dissent. See, this is an area that, and I know I'm diverging a little bit from silver, but I'm going to get on with that stuff. But political dissent in Soviet Union times was basically treated by psychiatric wards, and that is exactly how it's going to work out with this national health care system. So, if you're a person that thinks on his own, and it's amazing the number of people that don't think on their own. If you look at the polls, either they're taking Obama or Romney. They're taking two stupid things. They're taking both of them are screwed up. I'm voting for a third party, Gary Johnson, and the vast majority have the herd mentality. So that's what the government, and I don't even want to call them the government, that's what the elite want you to do. The elite. The problem is not actually the government. It's the fact that the people don't control the government anymore because they don't stand up on their hind legs and or they get misled. It's actually the elite and the wealthy control the government. It's not like the government is the problem. The problem is the bottomless pit that the elite have to fill through slave labor of the middle class, and that they will, extract as much as possible out of the middle class at their expense. So it's like it's not the government per se doing it. It's the guys that are on the top. Now, I don't want to actually say that in a fashion that it's like people on the top didn't work for their money. But if you actually notice some of these people, they have like a bottomless hollow pit inside of them. No matter how much money they got, they need more because they're internally unhappy. It's like a drug. It's like heroin or some crap. It's like if they got this, that, and the other thing and they hit the highest wealth they ever hit, they ain't good enough because they got to get 10 times more. And how are they going to get it? They get it out of other people. That's exactly how they do it. Very narcissistic, cold-blooded people on the inside, but very philanthropic on the outside, if that's the correct word. I want to get on. Let me just get on with some of the stuff with silver. You saw silver and gold, platinum and palladium are up a little bit today. Oil's down. Now, this oil is down, which I find kind of ludicrous because they talked about the slowdown in China. Now, we knew about this I knew about the slowdown in China. I knew about the export orders falling off to the lowest level they were in 3.5 years. And actually, if you look at the PMI data, we already knew what it was going to be coming out, but actually it's not slowing down as bad. The thing is, I want to point out about these commodities. If you see one commodity going down and all the other ones going up, that isn't like reflecting the whole picture. You might see oil go way up if there's an attack. Well, you would if there was an attack on Iran, and maybe other commodities can pull back. But just over general economic news, things should move up together. It should be the Dow, the S&P, oil, and the metals all move up together. If you see a crash in the equities markets, you'll see the metals crash, you'll see oil crash, you'll see everything crash. That's exactly what will happen. Now, I want to get on with that because I heard some stuff from Ann Barnhart, and I listened to her before, but I'm not totally convinced by what she has to say. She's talking about a market crash within the next 2 or 3 weeks and stuff coming up maybe in days. I don't think so. I think it's coming up in 2013. And I'm really basing that on is Jim Rogers and Mark Faber. I don't think there's anything on the horizon that's going to cause the markets to upset that fast. Especially with Congress in recess, nobody's doing nothing, nothing's going on. They're all freaking hiding like the head in a hole over the freaking budgets coming up and ironing out problems in the government. They're basically putting everything off until 2013. So some of the things that might be coming up that are more crisis, that can actually cause problems in the markets and stuff, might be more like in 2013. The only thing I can see that could really upset the markets right now is an attack on Iran. That's the only thing. So I think that the metals are still going to float up. The markets are going to float up. The S&P is going to float up. But it's only going to be maybe for 3 or 4 more months. That's what I'm thinking. I do think there is going to be a crash. I think she's basically right. I just think she's pulling it. She's saying it too fast. That's my opinion. But, hey, I'm sticking with it. And I want to point out this chart again. This is the global PMI right off of Bloomberg. You can get this public chart. And you look at the PMI data that just came out. I mean, it's still in contraction. It's got to be at least 50 to show that there's growth. It's down at 48.9, but it was at 48 before. So it went up a little bit. It's not contracting as much. So you also saw the markets in the metals and stuff go up, with the exception of copper. Copper actually pulled back upon this data that came out from China today. And it's probably just one data point. It's like going to be like one day something pulls back. Because I'm thinking over the next 2 or 3 months, all the metals are going to go up. Now my methodology for freaking judging when I should sell metals, and I'm talking brokerage accounts, not physical. I'll sell some physical if I get up to about $60 an ounce. Then I'll sell some physical. It's got to be over 50. I'd say over 55. But that's only some. But I'll get out of my brokerage accounts if I see the metals hitting near record highs, or maybe not quite up to record highs, but they're doing extremely well. I'll get out of that stuff and I'll sit on cash, and I'll sit on cash until I see a serious pullback, because I think Ann Barnhart is actually right. I'm just thinking I expect it to happen sometime in 2013, and not later in 2013, more like somewhere in the springtime of 2013. Maybe, from March to June, somewhere around there, I don't know. I'm taking that. I would love to know exactly when that's going to happen, because you could make a gazillion dollars, but I think that's what's going to happen. So, also want to talk a little bit about, since I've mentioned about oil. We looked at this. This is something where this is going to be the big bullish run in commodities. I'm thinking 2013 is going to have this pullback, and there's going to be a fight over resources. That's going to lead to, they'll call it quote unquote World War III, but I don't think it's going to start in some big, tremendous splash like one big event, and there's nuclear Armageddon. It's going to be hot spots all over the world competing for oil and natural resources. Now, you saw what happened with China recently, with Japan. They're basically trying to throw out all the Japanese companies in China, and protesting against them and all this. This is the Japanese word. I personally consider this part of Japan. This is right off my mapping thing here, streets and trips. It's Senkaku Island. It's part of the Ryukyu Island chain. It's been part of Japan since 1890. Now you look right here. Who are they really closest to? In what part of China? Taiwan, not mainland. I mean, if anybody's going to claim this for themselves, it should be Taiwan. Actually, this whole part of Japan, this Ryukyu Island chain, has a lot of influence from China, but more like Taiwan. They're very close to Taiwan. I mean, you're talking less than 100 miles away from Taiwan. Now, this is all part of Japan. All these islands down here, Ishigaki is all part of Japan. Irimoti Island, they're inhabited. These little islands up here on the top, just a few miles north of that, they're not inhabited. But clearly, you can see it's part of Japan. So, what is China talking about? China's talking about natural gas. And see, this is my point for after we see a serious contraction in 2013. There's going to be a fight over natural resources. This is what Jim Rogers is saying, and Mark Faber. This is one reason Jim Rogers is into agriculture, and I think he made a very smart move with that. So just to blow this out a little bit more, here's China mainland. Here's Taiwan. The islands are right here. So you would say if any part of China should claim these islands, it would be Taiwan. They're not saying nothing. If they had a super big military, they'd claim them maybe. But, that's what it comes down to. Here's Okinawa Island, and here's Japan. But all these islands, all are part of Japan. So it ain't going to matter what your national borders are. As a matter of fact, if Russia gets, if some catastrophic problem happens with the United States, guess what? You got Alaska up here, right? Well, you know what? Why can't Russia just say, just like Zhirinovsky say, that oil field that you have up there in a Purdue Bay, whatever, I'm not saying it right, is with the Liberty rig, that's ours now. That's ours now. Because, we sold it to you basically maybe in I'm saying this from memory, I think it's 1873 or whatever it was. I'm probably saying the wrong era, but it was in the late 1800s. About the same time, China relinquished those other islands to Japan. So this is where wars are going to start. You could say any damn reason there is. If there's something you got that I want, I'll take it. That's exactly what's going to happen. So this is what's going to be really bullish for the commodities. And I don't want to scare people with stuff, but I think that's more reality. That's how things are going to come about. And that's one reason you need a strong military in the United States, despite, not being the best thing for world peace and stuff, but all I'm saying is, everybody else has a strong military, so it's like you're stuck with that option because somebody will just take everything you got in this country. Now, Alex Jones was talking about these tanks running around in California. Now, I've been around, I've been in the military. I heard about the tanks with the UN on them, and they're going to Bosnia and all this kind of crap, and tanks being transported from, I don't know, actually they came from Canada, and some yo-yos are rolling around. This was back years ago, and yo-yos were taking pictures of them coming from Canada, and what the hell were they doing there? As a matter of fact, one time when I was on base, I almost got ran over by one of them on accident when I was on my El Camino. The stupid thing, I don't want to talk about that, but it had nothing to do with any kind of conspiracy. It was almost got flattened in an accident. But this picture, like, he'll show this, like, tanks, they're painted green. This guy's a jerk, okay? I'm going to just state this. This guy's a jerk, Alex Jones. He's a lot smart. Well, he's not a jerk because he's a multi-millionaire living in a mansion. Well, he's got everybody else running scared. I know this is basically a silver update, but I want people to understand all this stuff and actually, when to sell silver and what the hell's going on, not to be freaking worrying about every stupid thing there is out there. But Alex Jones was talking about these tanks being transported around in California, and supposedly this is a more recent picture. And he says they're green. Usually tanks are green. He goes, well, they're not desert cami, so that doesn't mean they're going to, Afghanistan. So I'm thinking, well, who the hell gives a shit? Maybe they're going for an oil change someplace and getting the treads redone, and maybe they're going to going to the paint shop to get painted tan, for all I know. I don't know. But I'm being facetious. But you know what I'm saying is they're not going to drive a freaking tank to your house to say, you better go on national health care or some shit like that. What they're going to do is going to get some dorky petty bureaucrats to go around with a bunch of stupid forms trying to screw you every possible way they can. And the way I look at it, that's exactly the middle class puts up with this shit. They do it piecemeal, a little bit at a time. Well, we did this, now we're adding this, now we're adding a 1% more here, 1%. That's how they get you by 1,000 cuts. They're not going to use a black helicopter or a tank. It's bullshit. This guy's he's a rabble rouser. I got to remember, I can't remember the specific date, but Alex Jones also, I think it was around the year 2000, he said that the Soviet Union was attacking the United States with nukes. There was a nuclear attack going on right now. The guy is, I swear, I think he's, if there's a conspiracy out there, like a real one where they're using the alternative media to freaking screw people up, I think Alex Jones is part of that, big time. That's how I see it. And I just want to point out simply that, I've seen pictures of tanks rolling around in this country for a long time. I mean, I've seen UN vehicles. I don't like the UN. I'm not saying I'm for the UN. I know that's a bunch of bullshit. It's the biggest corrupt freaking black hole waste of money going. And they do everything freaking wrong. They got every damn thing, corrupt goddamn thing going on in the UN. I know it's a bunch of BS. But every time you got a UN vehicle being transported on a train, don't mean the freaking sky's falling, that they're coming to invade you. It's ridiculous. And that's the message you're getting out of Alex Jones. The guy is a bunch of bullshit. That's all I got to say. Now, today, again, there's some economic data that came out that's indicating China's having a major slowdown. I'm not going to really pay attention to that because I think the major crash is going to come out in 2013, not this year. I think the metals are actually going to run up quite a bit. This QE stuff is still new. In other words, the announcement's still fresh. So, the effects of QE are more or less going to outweigh the effects of a bad and slow economy right now. So I'm thinking there's going to be a lot more rises in the metals. But when we start getting up to record prices, you watch the tone of the silver bloggers. I'm talking about the professional silver bloggers. Those guys are bad news. You can actually use their tone as to when to sell silver and hopefully buy it back cheaper. Now, I'm not going to play this game with physical too much. Very little. Depends on how high it goes. But I'm definitely going to do this game with the brokerage accounts. I'll sell stuff and I'll get out of it. If I see silver going up to around $50 an ounce, it's goodbye, Charlie. See you later. and I'll wait. It might take some months, but I'll see it crash. I'll see it crash, and it'll be below 50 again. So what I'm expecting, though, in the short term, is all the markets to melt up. You know, in other words, you're going to see the S&P go up, the Dow's going to go up. I know they're too high. I know they're freaking detached from the rest of the economy. But they have a way of freaking just, once that, it still goes. It still goes. It's going to break. It is going to break. I just don't see it happening in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Because everything has been pushed off on the sideline until, you know, everything starts up new or fresh with a new whatever we got. Maybe we have a new Congress, maybe we have a new president, maybe we have the same old president, till they iron out everything in the elections. Because right after the elections, you're going to have the holidays, you're going to have all this kind of crap. It's when they start getting back into recess and they start rolling up their sleeves about budgets, and this Iran problem isn't gone yet, and there's still all the problems are still there with China and slowing down. And if Europe's slowing down, you know China's slowing down. It's a given. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that. There's more and more problems going on in Europe, so China doesn't have markets available. And if China slows down, who the hell is going to buy the U.S. debt? Right? So that's going to lead to more and more QE. So, you know, you can't really look at it from, because there's factors out there that are saying that metals should go down because the economy's looking like crap. But you notice the metals have been going up, and that's because of QE. Taking a little bit of breather, but I think they're going to resume, and they're going to go up from here for the next few months. But they're going to pull back. They're going to pull back. And you know, one good way to tell is when they're going to pull back. Just look at what the professional silver bloggers tell you. When they all start getting on a bandwagon, oh, it's going to $1,000 an ounce and all this kind of crap, I don't think it's even going to hit. I don't even think it's going to hit $500 an ounce with inflation. But, you know, it's going to do extremely well. But when they start saying that, that's the time to start pulling out of your accounts and waiting and waiting. Now, you know, I've been guilty and victimized by emotional bullshit too, and I'm really trying to think like a straight shooter, because there's one area I have personally I'm in that I can't stand. I'm getting pissed off at, but I'm going to hold pat. So I'm still in double leverage oil, and that's not doing good. And what I'm thinking is, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's pretty much a given that Iran is going to get hit, and then the oil is going to go up to about $120 a barrel. Even if it goes that much, I'll have my money back. But if it goes more than that, I'll have more than my money back. But I get victimized by all the hype out there too. And I've noticed that these professional bullshit artists, they get on and they talk about the sky's falling every freaking 2 seconds. They're freaking wrong 90% of the time. If you really knew the markets, you definitely don't need to be an advisor. That's common sense. You don't need to be an advisor. Period. Period. So, you know, actually I'm more interested in being correct than pumping out stuff on YouTube. I think I have more of an interest in putting out videos on YouTube on health. You know, not just finding, but and also practical things that can help the middle class in small ways that actually add up to major things. But I'm going to continue to do the silver videos because I very strongly disagree with most people that are on the silver channels on most areas and with their logic. I don't think silver's even going to ever hit $500 an ounce. I think it might do half that. I might, and you know, you people would think that's terrible, $250. Well, that's about 9 times higher than it is today. That's a lousy gain. I don't know. I mean, is that a lousy gain? 9 times higher? That's a hell of a gain. You know, that would probably be that might be the absolute peak. Now, when the stuff's going up to 75 or 100, you're going to hear all the silver bloggers talking 1,000. I think they know better. They want you middle class people to screw up. That's what I think they're doing. So I got my voice out here, and I'm going to continue with it too. But I personally like doing some of the health videos more than anything, and how to save some money. Those are the ones I think help people out the most.